Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on when this finds you. Hope you're having a great day. If you've started it, hope you have a great day. If you haven't started, and if you pretty much wound down for the evening, I hope you had a great day. And just want to start off by saying this will probably be the last video of the year. I'm gonna take some time off. Not that I don't have content, I just feel like taking a break. And I had mentioned before that I didn't know if I was going to maintain this channel on this platform. And I decided for now that I'm going to keep posting on this platform. It's for personal reason only, and it has nothing at all to do with YouTube or anything else like that. It has nothing to do with viewership numbers because my videos are not being seen, and for the most part, they're not being shared. It's a personal decision that I made, and that decision is one that is close to my heart. And I don't need to go into all the details as to why, but just know that it's a very personal reason. I remember reading a book over 20 years ago, and there was a chapter that asked why some people never lack friends. And it said those people are the ones who love the most, and they believe that other people are also a source of happiness. And they believe their companions, their relationships, their friendships are important, and they've actually developed a lifestyle that allows them to have, profound relationships, for lack of a better phrase or term. And see, the book also states in this society that many men are not allowed to be open, truly open and vulnerable with others. And that's why many men have huge voids in their lives. And what am I talking about? Well, I'm going to talk about relationships today. And I'm not going to, I don't think I'm going to have any Bible verses or anything. I might pick up a couple of quotes, but this is just something that's on my heart right now. I'm not fussing or anything. I'm just going to talk and try to maintain the tone. I'm not angry. I'm not emotional. I'm not upset. I'm not hurt, anything like that. I just want to talk. I remember my mentor did a talk years ago on relationships, and he's a great relationship builder. And many people have learned a lot of things about relationships. And see, Hippocrates, y'all know Hippocrates, when you talk about medicine. Hippocrates said before you heal someone, you have to ask him if he's willing to give up the things that make him sick. And we can take that quote right there and attribute it to more than medicine. And if you start following or watching any of Dr. Bruce Lipton's talks or get his book, you start understanding that all of our sickness starts in the mind. And see, some people have unfriended me on social media because of my political posts. Some people have done it because of my moral post. Some have done it because of my post on the church and Christianity. Others have done it because of my post on how government has lied to us. Now, personally, I've never unfriended anybody because of their post on social media. Social media is a different, I guess, situation or system for each one of us. I mean, it gives us all access to the same platforms, but we don't all share the same things. Some people post for entertainment. Some people post pictures of themselves or their children. Others post political stuff. Some people post stuff on sports. Some people post music. Some people post celebrities. You know, it just depends on, you know, what each person, you know, has chosen to do. And for me personally, I choose to post a wide array of various subject areas. You know, some are funny. You know, a lot of times they're funny. A lot of them are funny actually. And but I also post informative posts. The informative posts are not meant for you to feel good. You know, how many times have I stated in my videos that if a relationship is built on feelings, it's going to never last. See, love is not a feeling. Love is a decision. Love is something you do and you continue to do. What if more people knew how to truly love? See, the Bible, well, I said I wasn't going to talk about the Bible. I ain't going to give no scripture, but I'm going to reference the Bible to make this point right here. But the Bible talks about 3 different types of love. And one is called eros, which is where the word erotic come from, or erotica. You know, eros is the type of love that's emotional. It's me-centered. And, you know, the second type of love is called philia. And that's more of a we-centered love. We share common interests. And the third love is called agape love. And many of you probably heard the word agape. And agape love is more people-centered. And it focuses on how the Messiah treats us, how the Father treats us. And see, most of our problems around the world are focused on eros, the me-centered type of love. Or, you know, we could call it selfishness. You know, when someone says they love you and their position is one of eros, they're only saying that they love you because of how you make them feel. You know, feeling your love involves giving as well as receiving. You know, but if feeling your love gets too much pressure, it can collapse on you as well. You know, you could say, you know, collapse under pressure, I guess you could say. And, you know, agape love is the kind of love that acts and sacrifices on behalf of others, even if it comes at a great cost. You know, if your love for somebody is not in the agape arena, your relationship can always change like the wind. See, when I post stuff that's informative, I'm posting that for you to understand what's happening around you, be it moral, intellectual, spiritual, or governmental. You know, the entire time I've had social media accounts, I have only unfriended one person. And that one person I unfriended because he was very disrespectful to somebody else on a post on my page. And that's it. You know, I'm not going to allow that type of behavior. Well, no, I take that back. I unfriended 2. Another guy, you know, he would come to my page every day and, you know, he used all this foul language. Hey, man, you know, I don't care if that's the way you talk. But I asked him, I say, hey, man, I said, could you be respectful of my page and stop using all that foul language when you comment on something of mine? Man, you don't, and he responded, man, you don't tell me what to do. I'm a grown man. I said, hey, brother, you know, it ain't about that. I said, I just asked you to be respectful on my page. And he come back again. Man, he don't tell me what to do. I'm grown and yada, yada. Unfriend. I unfriended him for that. You know, because I can't stop you from the way you talk with your poor vocabulary. I can't stop that. But I can stop you from speaking it into my situation. And, you know, I can't stop people when I'm in a group of people and somebody in the group is using foul language. I can't stop them from doing that, but I can remove myself from the situation. I'm not trying to change anybody. And so those are the only 2 people I've ever unfriended socially that are still living, because I've unfriended people who've passed on to the other side. And I recently had some issues with my cell phone. I did everything that could be done to try to get it to act right again. And right now, it's I can't even say it's in survival mode. But I had to order me a new phone, and it hasn't come in yet. So, um, in the process of trying to see what was going on with my phone, I went through and saved some things, and went through and after I saved them, because I knew it was going to be deleted. But in the process of doing a reset, it said, my contacts were going to stay intact. Well, they didn't. And so I'm in a process of trying to, get all my contacts back. So once the new phone come in, I can have those numbers as well. And I mean, I'm not a big person on cell phones. You know, I'll use it to talk on the phone. I'll use it to send text messages. But it doesn't need to be attached to me at all times. Many times if I'm sitting in the room, it's in another part of the house because I don't even want to hear it. But that's just me. Now, if I go back and grab it and I see somebody that I done missed a call or I've missed a text, I'll respond in. So if you don't hear from me as soon as you text or call me, it's not personal. I don't like them. And so, and why am I saying that? Because in the process of going into some of my social media accounts, I found out some other people had unfriended me that I thought were friends, and thought were close enough where, we could communicate if they had some issues, but apparently not. I can't worry about that. So when you say you're my friend, that means a lot to me. When I consider you a friend, that means a whole lot to me. Just because we don't agree on everything doesn't mean I think our relationship is on shaky ground. I appreciate differences. Differences make life interesting. Could you imagine only hanging out with people who all think exactly like you all the time? How boring would that be? We need people around us who challenge our thinking on issues. Men and women are just alike in many instances. But for one, I appreciate the differences. I would never unfriend someone I consider a friend because of anything they do on social media. In the years when that happened, I would reach out to the person to see what went wrong between the two of us so we could try to correct it. Now, get this. Each time I did that, the other party never responded to me. So I decided I'm not going to do that anymore. If you unfriend me on social media, I'm not contacting you, asking you nothing. I'm done with that going forward. I'm not doing that anymore. And so mature adults know how to settle their differences, even if they walk away from each other in disagreement. I literally have family members who have wronged me bad in the past, and they're still on my social media pages as friends. If you as a person are so small that we can't talk about how my post may have offended you, we may be best exiting each other's lives. Now, the thing is, I never closed the door. Now, I remember someone that I mentored reaching out to me not long ago. And some changes had taken place in life, and we didn't communicate like we once did. Not on my end, though. I didn't take it personal. I was contacted and asked if we could still communicate. You know what my response was? I said, I never closed the door. See, if I love you, I will never close the door. The challenge is, do you love me enough? Do you want to walk out the door or do you want to walk in the door? But see, that shows if you love me or not. Because I know how I feel about you. But I'm not going to live my life wondering about how you feel about me. See, if you want to be around me, I'm not going to fight for you to be around me if I'm not certain about our relationship. If you want to be around me, your actions and your behaviors will dictate that. If I want to be around somebody, my actions and my behaviors are going to prove that. In the days ahead, the most important thing any of us will have will not be our money. It won't be our jobs. It won't be our hobbies, and it won't be our interests. The only thing that's going to matter in the days ahead will be our relationships. See, too many people's society today are way too emotional. Too many people have I relationships. Too many people are selfish. I remember reading this book by Scott Peck some years ago called People of the Lie. Oh, how I wish when I read that book, if every human being on earth, of reading age, could read that and understand it. Oh, I think we could make such great progress in this country and in different areas around the world. Oh, People of the Lie by Scott Peck. But too many people are selfish and have I relationships. They're too emotional. See, we have to move past the point where things you don't agree with offend you. I've told a story maybe a few times before on some other videos about two guys who were, best friends. And they would get together and talk and, enjoy each other's company, and then if they got into politics, they always started disagreeing and screaming at each other because their political views were different. Although they disagreed and argued about politics when the subject came up, they still got together on a regular basis and they still would argue about politics. One of the guys died, and the friend went to the house and told his wife not to worry about anything. He would handle the arrangements and any of the costs associated with this death. And it allowed the wife and the children to mourn and love on each other instead of having to deal with his death in that capacity. Now, the guy who told the wife this, do you think he was also mourning that his best friend had died? Of course he was. While he was getting the affairs in order, someone who knew both gentlemen came and said to him, I can't believe after you guys arguing with each other all these years, you would be handling his affairs. And the guy responded, arguments? We weren't arguing. We just had some high-spirited disagreements. And those disagreements were only about politics. But we thoroughly loved each other. And disagreements about politics wasn't going to separate us or hurt our friendship. See, this society has created an environment where almost everyone wants other people to make them feel good. See, that's eros love. We need more agape love. Everybody wants somebody to make them feel good. Hey, I read and study in a whole lot of subject areas. And for the last few months, I spent a lot of time on the church and Christianity and put that stuff in my videos. And, y'all willing, I'm still not done with the church and Christianity. But, you're going to have to wait for the next year, and see where that goes. But with me spending time on the church and Christianity, do you think those topics are popular for those ingrained in Christianity? Like I said, my videos don't get a whole lot of playtime, but I wish you just go through and look at some of the comments on some of those videos of what people have said to me. You think I removed my video because they disagreed with it? Nope. And they don't have to come back and watch any other videos ever again because I'm still going to post on what I study and what I learn. I don't do that because I'm looking for somebody else's approval. I do that because I'm trying to inform people. See, just because you don't agree with something, does it make it less true? Just because you don't like my positions on something doesn't mean I'm going to change my position to accommodate you. I am certain you are not going to change your position to accommodate me. And I'm not looking for you to change your position either. As I stated earlier, I appreciate our differences. Do you think my marriage would be exciting if me and my wife agreed on everything? I don't like yes men and women. I don't want people around me who agree with everything I say. See, this thing triggers what I'm getting ready to say. This triggers some people. You may have a homosexual in your family, and that's your business. Do you think I'm going to change my stance on homosexuality because you got offended? I have them in my family too. You had an abortion or you believe in abortion? Okay, that was your choice. I'm not changing my position on abortion just because me and you disagree about it. I have people who believe differently on that area with me too in my family. You like to have a drink on occasion or a daily basis, however you like to do it. That's okay with me. I'm not changing my position on how I feel about alcohol. And boy, my family have a whole lot of alcoholics. I don't even like the smell of alcohol. You trust the government? That's your right. But guess what? I still love you, knowing that you and I have those differences in our thought process. Why am I on this rant? Because we're all getting older. And these behaviors that I'm describing are usually carried out by people who are still in the middle and high school mentality. See, reading and listening creates a maturity level in you that makes you stronger because things will happen in your life that are going to test you. See, you have to be like a duck and let it roll off your back. I see posts all the time that I don't agree with on different social media platforms. And I follow a lot of those people. I watch videos all the time that I don't agree with. I subscribe to email newsletters that I disagree with. Do I unfriend people of that because of that? Do I unfollow a YouTube channel because I disagree? Do I cancel the newsletters? No. I love the difference in our thinking. It forces me to see things from a different perspective. And I appreciate the different thought process. Our similarities will join us together. And if we're mature enough, our similarities should be strong enough to keep us together. I mentioned before how me and a childhood friend were trying to figure out what our ancestors followed before we got these Christian Bibles. And as I stated, go back and listen to what is Christian Lynch mobs or how the black church keeps a black community poor and broke. One of those, I don't remember. But I mentioned that the word Christian is really not, it's in modern Bibles. It's not in the older Bibles. So Christian is a religion too. I mean, Christianity is a religion, I should say. But the word Christian is nowhere in your Bible, in your original Bible. And, I saw a post the other day and it had several versions of the Bible in a picture. And the caption on the picture said, only lies have several versions. We got the King. Most of us were brought up on the King James. We got the NIV. We got the TLB. We got the NRV. We got the GOC. We got the WEB. We got the ERV. We got the Amplified. We got all these different Bibles. I tell you what. Forget all these different versions of the Bible. And let's just put the Apocrypha back in the original Bible, and let's put all the Hebrew names back in the original Bible, and then that'd be all we need. We don't need all this other garbage. But being the friend, the childhood friend, we were talking about what our ancestors followed before the Christian Bible, the modern Christian Bible, before the slave masters came in with their um, European gentilized Bibles. What did our ancestors follow? And I said I would keep looking, and if I came across something, I would share, and I asked for the same in return. And we had what I thought was a pretty solid relationship. I mean, we've known each other since we were 8 years old. And one day I made a post on social media about the medical industry and some, treatment. And she has her PhD and believes everyone who has a degree, especially an advanced degree, is more intelligent than everyone else. So she commented on my post and asked, what did I do to make doctors treat me the way they treated me? And she asked this because the doctors have degrees and I don't. So I was automatically at fault in her limited mind. I mean, how could I be at fault when I was under anesthesia when everything happened to me? Just kind of baffles me. Well, that was the wrong day to approach me with a stupid question. And I read her the right act. That wasn't no love in my response. And you may say that was wrong with me, and maybe it was. But there wasn't no love in her question, and I responded accordingly. She had overstepped her boundaries on a public forum, and she got dealt with in public. I don't know how many of you had parents say that if you act a fool in public, you're going to get this punishment in public. See, she questioned me based on society's standards of who is deemed worthy of respect. Society. She treated me like I was less than in that moment. She placed society's standards above our relationship that's been going on for over 40 years. And see, I did her like that phrase many of us have heard before. She came to the fight with a knife and I had a gun. So don't bring a knife to a gunfight. But you see, for me, because of the way I am, after I said my piece, I was done with the matter. Well, she took it personal. It's amazing that someone can attack your credibility and think it's okay, but when you return the favor, they're not grown enough to handle it. As I said, I was done with the matter. And I came across the information we had discussed before about what our ancestors followed. I shared it with her, and to this day, she has never responded to me. And you know what? I'm okay with that. You see, for years, I've been too nice and way too laid back. And I read y'all the etymology of the word nice on one of them videos. I don't remember which one it was. But look up if you're interested in what the true meaning of the word nice is, just type in a search mode etymology of nice and you'll see what I'm talking about. But I've been too nice and way too laid back in the past. And see, when I was doing my speaking on a regular basis, I spoke in a lot of schools. And at one career day event, I was asked why the students flocked to my talks. And I'm not patting myself on the back at all. I'm just making a point. I said because every other speaker spends their whole time talking to them about their career. And for me, I talk about the students. See, that makes a huge difference. I spoke at another event of business leaders. And there was a guy sitting in one of my talks. I didn't know any of the people in the room that day. But I was on the calendar to speak to 2 different sessions. And after my talk, the guy came up to me and introduced himself. And he just also happened to be a speaker. And he said, man, I heard about you and I wanted to see you in action and see what the hype was all about. He said, man, you everything I heard about. And, like I said, I'm not patting myself on the back, but when you start doing things from your heart and you're doing it with love, you don't have to say anything about yourself. Other people will speak on your behalf. And, I appreciated the compliment because I've always been a very humble person. And I believe I'm large on humility because being a former athlete, I saw how lack of humility destroyed a lot of people. Stephen Covey, Stephen Covey's passed on now, but he wrote the book, the 7 Habits, and then he released another one called Eighth Habit. And one of the things he said is that when the trust account is high, it's very easy to communicate. I'm kind of paraphrasing. He said when you trust somebody and it's real good, when the trust account is high, it's very easy to communicate with each other, and the communication is effective. And like I said, I'm paraphrasing it, so don't attack me for that. But like I said, this is just a rant. These are some things on my heart right now. Like I said, go heading into the new year. I just want to, clear the air. And because if you're gonna be with me, you're gonna be with me. If you're not, you're not. But my door's open. And I recently read a book on leadership titled "Leadership and Self-Deception." And after reading it, I understand more and more as to why many things suffer in this society. The overriding theme in that book was most people don't know how to cultivate relationships. Sure, many people can build a relationship, but many have no clue on how to maintain that relationship. And John Maxwell wrote a book years ago titled "Talent is Never Enough." And he said talent can take you lots of places, but talent alone can't sustain you once you get to those places. See, that takes something different, like character and integrity and things like that, and loyalty. That takes love for one another. And, like I said, Stephen Covey said, if our trust account is high, everything else becomes easy. Communication becomes easy. If I trust you and you trust me, communicating between the two of us is very simple. It's never hard. So the conversation, maybe hard to have, maybe, but because of the way we trust each other, there will be no animosity. If we truly love each other, we can effectively communicate with each other. How do you know that your relationships are strong? Can you talk with each other out of love openly? Can you talk with each other without judging each other? Can you talk with each other and still maintain that relationship? Can we communicate with each other? Even about difficult topics or issues, and still love one another. Hey, all of us could stand to improve all of our relationships. There is not one of you listening to this talk that could not stand to improve every relationship in your life, myself included. Every relationship could use some improvement on our end. If you say all of your relationships are fine and there's no room for improvement anywhere, well, you'll lie about other stuff too. But see, we can only effectively communicate if our relationship is based on agape love and not philia and eros love. See, Love decisions mean through everything good and bad, I'm going to stand by you. Love feelings mean through some things, good and bad, I might stand with you. But more than likely, I'm going to step away from you, because that's how feeling relationships end up. Feeling relationships. But even if you're wrong, I can stand with you. I remember we were with a group of people some years ago, and my wife started talking, and she said, Myron's the man of the house. And she said, if Myron makes a decision, I'll stand by that decision. She said, and if it's wrong, we'll both fix it. Now, can you say that in any of your other relationships? That you got somebody that has that type of love for you, and know you made a mistake, know you messed up, and they said, okay, you messed up, how can we fix that? See, it was me who decided, but she said, we can fix what me decided. And see, if you're wrong, I can stand with you if I truly love you. But that comes with agape love. That doesn't come with eros and philia love. Philia, when I say philia, that's Philia. And because eros mean that person is leave you with the quickness. Philia means, it's almost like having 99% loyalty to somebody. And see, I heard a guy say years ago that 99% loyalty is 100% disloyalty. He said, because you might be with me 99% of the time. He said, but at that point, I really need you is at that 1%. And he said, you might tuck tail and go the other direction when I truly needed you. So he said 99% loyalty is 100% disloyalty. And sadly, that's how many people relationships in our society are today. They're 99% loyal. And see, that's when you start getting into relationship at different levels, because depending on our relationship depends on what we communicate with each other about. See, most people's relationships are based on current news or sports. Some people can get a little bit deeper and get into current news, sports, family, and their spiritual beliefs, and schooling. Where did they go to school and all that? And then you got those deeper relationships where you can sit there and you can talk to a person and understand what their greatest fears are, what their greatest interests are, what their greatest loves are. See, that's when relationships get real into the deep and truly love aspect. When you start get to a point where you can learn those things about people. But unfortunately, most people in today's society are surface level friends. They're only your friends on the surface. There's no depth to them in the relationship with you. If you see me in the water drowning and all you can see is my head up, You might, if you're a surface level friend, all you're seeing is the surface. You just seeing my head up, my neck up. You might throw me a rope and tell me to grab it, and you'll try to pull me in. But what if something is underwater holding on? My leg is tangled up, or my arm is tangled up. But if you're only a surface level friend, you're only gonna throw the rope out and say, Myron, grab the rope and I'll pull you in. But I can grab the rope with maybe one free arm or maybe both free arms, but something might be caught around my leg or something might be caught around my arms. And regardless of how much you try to pull me as a surface level friend, you're never gonna help me get out the water. You're gonna have to jump in and help me get my leg or arm from untangled. See, that's when you move from being a surface level friend to a depth level friend. See, when love is a feeling, people leave you when things get uncomfortable. Now, I'll turn my back on you when I don't feel loved. I remember being in college, living in a dorm, and one of my teammates did something that I didn't particularly care for. And he passed. Can't believe it's been over 9 years since he passed away in a tragic accident, tragic vehicle accident. And he was like a brother to me. I mean, real brother. We weren't blood brothers, but we were like brothers. Almost like we knew each other before we ever got to the University of Houston. And he did something I didn't care for, and I just said, "Hey, man, we'll keep that between the two of us, and we won't tell anybody else. But I tell you what, going forward, don't make that type of mistake again." You know what? That was the end of the conversation. As far as I know, it never happened again. And because I know him well enough, I really doubt it'd happen again. But I'm just saying, that was the end of the conversation. We never talked about it again. We never spoke of it again. And like I said, as far as I know, no similar situation ever happened again. And like I said, it's been 9.5 years almost since he passed. And it left a void in my life. Because like I said, I considered him a brother. And another person I considered a really close friend, and I was talking one day, and the talk turned to politics. He didn't like what I said about the presidential candidate that he had planned on voting for. Now, before I said what I said, he had talked bad about the candidate I supported in a previous election. But you know what? I didn't get upset about it. I told him, man, I totally understand where you coming from. I mean, when we were in college, we were in middle school, high school, and we were still buddies. And while we were in college, we were two different universities, and I would go hang out at his house all the time. His mama could cook. And but I enjoyed eating her food. And but he didn't like what I said. And I felt like we had the type of relationship over all those years that allowed us to be candid with each other. Apparently we didn't. And since that time, most of our communication with one another is through text messages. His dad died and I was there. My dad died and he said sorry to hear that. And when my mother died, I didn't even tell him she had passed for over a year. Because after that conversation, um, when my dad died and, he was sorry to hear that, didn't say anything you need or anything. And I said, why even tell them about my mother? And when my mother died, I was in the hospital. So I couldn't do anything from a hospital bed. My mother passed, and I was still in the hospital for another 5 weeks after my mother passed. And so, we had, like I said, that conversation, about 15 years ago. And, I felt like we had started to lose our connection. And, not for lack of trying on my part. Because, like I said, if I love you, I love you. And, life is way too short for all of us to try and maintain relationships with people who don't even meet you or try to meet you halfway. I mean, I can't tell you how many of my classmates have died already. I started losing classmates 2 years after I graduated high school, and I've been losing them, it seemed like every year since. And that's been over 30 years ago. Is it 30? Yeah, over 30 years ago. And I read somewhere once before that time decides who we meet in our lives. And our heart determines who we want in our lives. And our behaviors determine who remains in our lives. And so as we head into the new year, I pray that those of you who want to be with me will stay with me. And those who don't, so be it. That's the position I have to take going forward. I'm not trying to maintain relationships and friendships with people who only have eros or philia love for me. I want people who have agape love for me around me. Because I don't need you to turn my back on me when I really need you. Does that sound harsh? Maybe it does. I'm going to continue to research and study. I'm going to continue to share information as long as y'all allows me to. See, I can't with a good conscience not share information just because, I have to wonder if somebody's feelings are going to get hurt. If that were the case, I would never be able to share or talk about anything because there's not one person on this earth who agrees with any of us 100% of the time. Not one. Your spouse or mate doesn't agree with you all the time. Your children don't agree with you any of the time. Your siblings don't always agree with you. Your boss and coworkers don't always agree with you. Your parents don't always agree with you if they're still living. Your grandparents don't always agree with you if they're still living. Your best friends don't always agree with you. All of those relationships I mentioned, maybe with the exception of your children, but the way children are today, they could probably fall in this classification too. Each one of those people, more than likely, at some point in your life, has said something that has pissed you off or offended you. But you keep the relationship anyway. And it's time to grow up. I remember John MacArthur did a sermon some years ago titled, it's time to act like men. It's time to act like women. And I hadn't mentioned it throughout the talk, but don't forget, the book is available. But hey, what do I know? That's available at my email address. Uh, you can comment in the section. I've mentioned my email on other videos. If I remember, I'll put it in the description box. It's also available at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, other book resellers, around the country. It's even available internationally now, as far as I know. And the difference is buying from the reseller versus me is you don't get a signed copy if you order it online from one of the resellers. You won't. It's signed and personalized if you get it from me. And if you decide you want it before the end of the year, I'll even knock $5 off the retail price of $20. So 15, and I'll even include the shipping. I won't even charge you the shipping. I'll just charge you a flat $15 rate if you order the book directly from me, and that'll be cheaper than you can get it anywhere else unless you find a reseller that's reselling it as a used copy. And I'm not shallow enough to think that people haven't maybe bought the book and turned it back in because they didn't like the content. I'm not that shallow, because everybody ain't gonna agree with what you said. But like I said, we're heading into a new year, and like I said, this is gonna be the last video of the year. But we're not heading into turbulent times. We're in turbulent times. And what days I'm gonna release this? What's the day? And I think on 11th. This video is coming out on 11th, and I came across some information a few days back saying that the World Bank is probably going to be collapsing on Friday the 15th, December 15th at 12:01 a.m. Now, I don't know how true that is. I'm just saying what I came across. And but we're not heading into turbulent times. We're in turbulent times. And as I stated earlier, the only thing that's going to be able to carry you through turbulent time are relationships. And eros relationships are not going to carry you through turbulent times. Philia relationships are not going to carry you through turbulent times. Only agape relationships are going to carry you through turbulent times. And I just wish more people could understand that, because we need each other. I mean, and it doesn't have to be specific. We don't need specific people. I'm just saying we need each other. There is nothing we can do in this world if we're going to accomplish by ourselves. About the only things you're going to do by yourself in this world is go to the restroom and die. Basically, restroom encompasses a whole lot of areas, but basically those are about the only two things you're going to do by yourself. Everything else, you're going to need people. And the quicker we can get people to understand this, I think the better off we'll be. But I don't think people have figured it out in all these years yet. Well, some people have, but for the most part, as a whole society around the world over the centuries, it hasn't been figured out, because you always have people with sinister motives. And how do you expect me to come to your aid or your defense when you turn your back on me? And what I'm seeing right now is I'm communicating more effectively with people who are basically total strangers to me, that I've met through social media platforms, who I communicate with on a weekly basis, who don't let my posts offend them, because they're trying to build agape love relationships, because to them our differences don't matter. They're more concerned with our similarities. See, as things continue to get more and more turbulent, we're going to need more people in our corners who truly care about us, who love us, who can help us in time of need. Well, we're allowing society to control too much and dictate too much. We got to be mature men and women. And that's why we see a lot of these situations where our youth, especially our black youth, are doing things that are detrimental to themselves and others. There's not even eros love in a lot of them. There's just anger. But you know why there's no eros love in them? Because they never saw any eros love growing up. They saw, I mean, not eros love. There's no agape love in them because they never saw any agape love growing up. A lot of them, all they've seen is a lot of anger. They've seen a lot of dysfunction. And hey, all of us have seen a lot. A lot of us have seen a lot of dysfunction. And there was no fun in our dysfunction. But we got to start loving one another. We got to stop letting petty things trigger us. Social media posts, that's petty. Have I been there for you when you needed it? When you asked me to do something, was I there for you? See, that's more important to me than what you post on social media. But that's just me. Maybe my mindset and maybe my love for other people just have me believing in, like the old TV show Fantasy Island. And I was talking to somebody the other day and asked, didn't they know about the show Fantasy Island with a little tattoo, the plane. And but maybe my thought process has me on Fantasy Island. Maybe I believe in people a little too much. I don't know. Maybe I'm seeking out some ideals, not ideas, ideals that are never gonna transpire. I don't know. Maybe I'm too positive in my thinking. Maybe I need some negativity in my life to just, maybe I need some shock therapy to shock me back into reality. Maybe, I don't know. But it's not going to stop me from fighting to develop and maintain relationships that are important to me. But like I said, I'm not going to fight for a relationship and there's no reciprocation. I'm not going to fight for you if you're not willing to fight for me. And that's not just friendship. That's any relationship. That's why, we have, divorce the way we have it. Because one party probably got to the point where they weren't willing to fight for the other person, even though that other person was willing to fight for them. And so they end up in divorce. And it's just, this is, like I said, this was just something on my heart. And right now, the last few weeks, I've been praying to y'all about some things. And, 'cause how many of you try to wait till the new year and start with that new year, new me crap? Stop that foolishness. Start putting your things in place now. What's that saying? The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, the second best time is right now. Do that. Stop waiting till January 1st after you done got full and drunk and then want to set some goals. But I've been in prayer, these last few weeks about where I want me and my wife's life to head going forward. And I pray that you do the same. And in my prayers, I ask to let it be revealed to me who's going to be with me and who's not. And you never have to ask who those people are going to be, because they're going to always show themselves. And, it's not just the relationships I've prayed about. I don't need to tell you everything I prayed about, because in reality, it's not your business. And I learned something a long time ago. Don't tell everybody what you're praying about anyway, because you might be talking to some demons. And if you tell them what you're praying for, they might go into prayer against what you're praying for, but masquerading as your friend. So you don't tell everybody what you're praying for. You don't tell everybody your goals, because you got demons within your midst that will be praying for your downfall. And like I said, we don't need it. There's enough turbulence out there right now to where we don't need anything extra coming into our lives that's bad. We could all stand to hear some good news. We could all stand to see some positive changes in our lives. All of us could stand some of that. And so, as I stated, you either want to be with me or you don't. I'll never tell you you can be with me or you can't be with me. Your actions are going to prove what you want to do. And like I said, this is the last video of the year. I don't even know when I'm going to start recording again after this. But like I said, I got videos recorded. I'm just not going to put them on. But it's because I do have a video I want to release, but I'm not going to do it this year. And I'm going to talk about all the groups of people who've received reparations. But we're still trying to talk. They're still talking about forming committees and yada, yada, yada when it comes to black people receiving reparations. Did the U.S. government form a committee when Ukraine got all them billions? Did the U.S. form a committee when they sent Israel all them billions? Let's compensate these black people who started 400 years behind oppression, and then another 100 years of more oppression, and another 50 years of some more oppression. We got to form a committee to see, if it's viable. What about the Sioux Indians? What about the Seminoles? What about the Japanese? Like I said, I ain't gonna get started on all that. But just want to talk about that a little bit. But we better start getting some thick skin. I'll tell you that. Because if you getting upset about my social media posts, you're gonna really struggle with what's coming down the pipe. Talk to you later.